We have handled quite literally hundreds of solicitation charges over the years. Solicitation is where you're being accused of paying for sexual services. And it's probably every few months that we find ourselves getting calls from recent stings that the Vice Unit usually engages in, where they'll post things online, enticing people to click on them and then have a conversation about what sexual acts they might have performed for some amount of money. Oftentimes it's at a hotel, sometimes it's in parking lots. Upon our clients' arrival to these locations, there'll be exchange for money for a sexual act, and immediately the police sweep in and a client is arrested. That's the most common. There's also solicitations that frequently occur on street corners where cars will pull up and undercover vice officers will approach the car, pretend to be a prostitute, and engage in some type of quid pro quo for a sexual act. And then they're arrested right there in their car. A lot of the clients that we deal with in these cases are professionals actually that have a lot to lose, ranging from doctors to lawyers to engineers, many of which are in relationships. I always make it clear to them, I'm not here to judge you in any way. I'm here to make this go away if at all possible. And I understand that you might have a family life or a relationship, and we need to be as discreet about this as possible. And so I'll provide them some steps and measures that they can take to protect themselves from others knowing about this while I handle this in court. Now, once we're in court, there are some common defenses to these. Sometimes there's not an exchange, a quid pro quo necessarily. I've seen many cases where the police alleged that there was some type of offer for some amount of money for a sexual act when there was no offer for any money. And maybe they were requesting a sexual act, but that's not illegal. As long as it's consensual between two people, that's fine. They have to prove that there was some quid pro quo, that there was some offer, and sometimes those elements can't be proven, and sometimes that is the defense. In other cases, because these are stings and because they're recorded, there are very limited defenses available, and it does become more of a damage control. In cases of damage control, it really depends on which county you're in and what court you're in. But in most of the main cities, there are often ways to minimize the charge so you're not stuck and brandished and labeled with that solicitation charge, which certainly has its sting to it. Thankfully, what I tell all clients is almost no matter what, I'm positive I'll probably be able to get this off of your record because it is a sealable, expungible offense, which means that when you are eligible, which is 1 year from the close of the case, I can have this swept off a public record. But in the meantime, I would like it not to be labeled as a solicitation charge. So common reductions that I'll request on a damage control case is criminal mischief. It's a lower level charge. It's not sexually related. A lower level offense from that is a disorderly conduct M4, and then a lower level from that is a disorderly conduct MM. There are circumstances and there are a number of cases that we've been able to have outright dismissed. Some prosecutors are willing to look beyond sometimes just the factual circumstances of a case and see that someone doesn't have a prior criminal history. And sometimes if I have my clients participating in something called a John School program, that's an educational program about what prostitutes do, what effect prostitution has on our society, and you get a certificate of completion, and sometimes that'll satisfy a prosecutor to amend, reduce, and in some limited circumstances completely dismiss a case, given somebody's lack of prior criminal history and also maybe what effect this might have, especially if they have licenses or if they're a lawyer or a doctor or something like that.